Okay, we're going to call the meeting in order. And how long did you guys already say we've taken? 15 minutes?
15 to 17.
15 to 17 minutes.
So
Okay.
15, so
Go.
Okay.
Rock and roll.
So did everybody have a chance to read the minutes of the last meeting?
Move to approve the minutes.
Been moved by Amanda, second by Larry. All in favor? Minutes approved. We don't have no items on the consent agenda. No visitors, new business, year-end transfers.
Okay, I'll try to talk fast, make it quick. I printed them out, and they're also on the share. It should look familiar to everybody. I'll just go over it real quick on the spreadsheet in case there's any questions. So at the top is all of the funds that are budgeted funds. Capital improvement and equipment reserve and the infrastructure improvement are not budgeted funds, but I'm showing them on here because we do transfers into those funds. So on the left-hand side, that's the balance that we have today in all of those funds. The next column over are outstanding and expected bills for period 13. So those are bills that are going to come in December that we will pay in January, but they're still in the year 2021. The second page kind of breaks those down with the encumbrances and the expected expenses. Some of the expenses are payroll. The final payroll of the year has to be accounted for in 2021. Encumbrances, we don't have too many. In the Special Highway Fund, we've got McCormick Excavation. That is that work that was done over on Parkway. So that will be out of the Special Highway Fund. In capital improvement, we've got the compensating use tax for Ward Electric. What that is they've not been charging us sales tax on our invoices, and so we have to pay that when I file compensating use tax reports, which are quarterly. Well, they're going to become monthly, but they're currently quarterly. And the ADA for the theater renovation, that's the last that we will owe to that company once we get into the bid process of that contract. That's what that is for, but it was encumbered for 2021. Dan hasn't yet ordered his bunker gear out of equipment reserve, so that's encumbered there. And that's about it for encumbrances this year. We don't have a whole lot. So those next two columns on that main spreadsheet are showing the outstanding expected bills and the encumbrances. We're going to jump over to the next to the last column, which is the expected year end. That's what we expect to have when we take the balance as of today and subtract the encumbrances and the expected bills. And the column over from that is what we have as our beginning balance for the 2022 budget. So we want to try to get as close to that as we possibly can so that our 2022 budget begins as we expected it to begin. Any questions on that so far? So down below are the actual transfers that were budgeted for in the 2021 budget transfers. So in the utility fund, we had $173.5 budgeted to go into the general, $250 to capital improvement, and $100 into equipment reserve. In the sewer fund, we had $10,000 budgeted to go into capital improvement and $10,000 to equipment reserve. And then those bottom two are the sales tax. We have to transfer money into the debt service account to pay next year's debt service, and then the rest of it that is budgeted will go into the capital improvement fund. So those are the budgeted amounts. The way that we figure out what we're actually going to transfer is we look at what we need to have at the expended year end, and then that tells us how much we can actually transfer. So for example, in the general fund, with no transfers coming in this year, we are going to be okay. We don't have to do any transfers into the general fund this year, and most of that is because of the money that we got from the ARPA funds and the theater funds, the Shuttered Venue Operator Grant. So that boosted up our money in our general fund, so we don't have to transfer anything in. But with that said, what that means is that we can transfer now more into capital improvement. and we can use those funds. For example, we were talking about the Shuttered Venue Operator Grant funds. That was $31,171.73. So we're going to move that into, along with the transfers, into the Capital Improvement Fund, and we can use that as seed money now for our grant.
And this was the conversation I had with Scott earlier. The shuttered venue wasn't, it was to replace lost revenue. It's money we wouldn't have had in any other way. We've long talked about and kind of struggled with this theater project, how large scale it would be. And you either have to have match or in-kind money to entice the funding people. You know, you have to have buy-in. So it just seemed like that was a perfect thing to utilize that money as a start point, as the match money for the city.
So you'll see that instead of down here in the transfers in the utility fund, we had budgeted $250 to go into capital improvement. We're going to bump that up to $310. The reason it's not more, if we want to keep the same amount going to equipment reserve, the reason it's not more is if you transfer too much out of the utility fund, it'll drop it too low, and you won't have enough for your beginning balance. So I hope that makes sense how these numbers are calculated, trying to get everything to line up. But that does give us some extra money. So in our transfers, you cannot transfer more than what was budgeted, but you can, let's say the utility fund had $523,500 budgeted to be transferred. You don't have to put those amounts where we said they were going to go as long as it doesn't exceed that amount. So in other words, we're putting more into the capital improvement fund, but we're not putting anything to the general fund, and that's okay as long as the total doesn't exceed what we budgeted. So you can put them in other funds if that's where you need it. You just can't go over that amount. The sewer fund, we had some small transfers budgeted from there to capital improvement and equipment reserve. And then the infrastructure sales tax fund, money's going into debt service and infrastructure improvement. And we had $157,000 budgeted. So we're just moving all of that into those two funds. Does all of that make sense? I can't think of anything else to really
Do you have any
cover.
questions? If not, do I hear approval on the year-end transfers?
I'll move.
Moved by Derek,
Second.
second by Amanda. All in favor? Approved.
Okay. Get those taken care of.
Okay, old business, property cleanups. Any discussion on property cleanups?
What is going on with that house on East 4th Street? Because it has a ton of junk in it, in front of it, then it doesn't have, then it has a little less, and it has more, then it has less, then it has more.
Yeah, same way it's happening all over town. Did you ever come up with a letter type deal?
No, I was on vacation all last week, but that is top priority for me to get that done, so no, I did not.
I thought that if we get us a letterhead made up that anybody on the city council, myself and JR, if we see a property that we see a property that has a problem, we're going to get letters out right away just from the city to start with what we see is wrong and what ordinances they're not following. And, you know, if it's a blight, that it's devaluing the property owners that are around them. There's a lot of that going on in town. There's a lot of junk. And I talked to Amanda about that. I said, used to, we was known as, when people came into St. Francis, that we were the cleanest town around. We aren't anymore. So we better get on top of it and start working on it, because we're not. We're starting to, I don't know, we're bringing in a lot of people that just want to do whatever they think they can do.
I like your idea of initiating it from the city.
Well, to start with. And then once, if they do not come, and then we need to send a letter that would say, read something like this, that once they get this letter, we'll give them a time frame, and they have to, if they don't like what there is, they have to make an appointment to be at the city council. Not just call one person up and say, what's going on? Because we all need to say, nope, you come and sit in front of us and you explain. And then we can we don't want to be one-on-one with anybody. Because they'll say, well, Larry told me I could do this. You know, they'll always find an excuse how to get out of it. And so I think they have to come to the city council.
Why am I getting thrown under the bus?
Well, it's going to happen to us. We're going to get caught out there somewheres, and they're going to say that, and just tell them, bring it to city council, because that's what the letter's going to say. And then if they don't do what we're asking them to, then we'll start forcing it and fining them.
Do you want me to send the letter that I send to Lila? Because I send it in that you're in violation of the property cleanup. It cites the ordinance, and it says you have 10 days to clean it up, 15 days to schedule a meeting in front of the city council, and if it's not done by that time, then it will be, then we will file a petition with the court and prosecute in municipal court. I can take that last sentence out and say it will be escalated to the legal department, or it will be escalated to or it could be escalated to municipal court, and once that time frame passes, if they haven't done anything, then it comes to me, and I just send that letter out again telling them you will be prosecuted at this point.
I probably have a copy of that, just because I have copies of ones that have been sent.
I just didn't know if you, yeah, I mean, that's fine, but I just didn't know if you wanted me to send it to you in Word.
Yeah.
Because I have, I mean, if you want to retype one of the copies that I sent, that's fine, but I have it in Word and I can email it over.
Yeah.
Well, that's fine. I mean, I just think that any one of us, and we probably should, because, you know, we all have that person that's next to us. It's a tough situation. So, if I see something, I'm going to mention it to somebody else. At least two people on the council and whatever have to agree that, yes, we need to get a letter out.
I'm sorry, didn't mean to cut you off.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, to initiate the letter, you should do a baseline pictures of the property at the time that you send it, of either compliance or hearing. So the baseline is documented, because just like you said, there's, well, I did this, I did that, whatever. Pictures, and that's easy. I have no problem doing that. If you pick the property, I'll get the pictures, put them in, and go with the letter. However you want to do that.
I think that's what we do. If we see a property, any one of us, we let JR take the pictures. But we just need to get on it and keep pushing, because there's people out there saying, well, you're not fair because you're only picking on this person or that person. Well, I guess we start picking on several of them and see what happens.
You said it's 15 days to...
In my letter, it's you have 10 days to clean 10 days to clean up the property, or 15 days to get in front of the council. And that's not you have 15 days to call to get on the agenda. That's you are in front of the council within 15 days. So, I mean, our meetings are 2 weeks apart. Obviously, if there's a fifth Monday, I'm going to be lenient on that, but for the most part, it's you get a letter, you're at the next council meeting if you're not going to clean up that property. And if you don't do that, then we file it in municipal court.
Is that what you want this one to be?
Is there enough time to allow them to set something up for council?
I think the first one should probably be longer, because I don't send a letter until after they've already gotten a warning. So this is, I mean, by the time they're getting my letter, by the time they're getting that threat of 10 days or 15, I mean, I don't want to say threat, but that ultimatum of 10 days to clean it up or 15 days to come before council, they've already been notified by, I believe it was JR was doing it previously. They've already been notified by JR. And if there wasn't any progress made, then he would say, hey, Lauren, there's been no progress made. This is when I first made contact. And then I send that formal letter with pictures and say, you have 10 days or 15 days. So if you wanted to do 30 days to clean it up. I mean, I don't know how long, because that's, if we're wanting to get it cleaned
That
up,
depends on the property, because there's
Right.
some that would take 30, and there's a chair in the front yard that takes 2 minutes.
Right.
Kind of things. And some of those are the things that really wear on people, too.
I mean, it could be left open.
It has to be-
It could
that
just
has
be
to
an
be a very-
asterisk. Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, it could be an asterisk. You have X days to clean it up or X days to get in front of the council, and then, so if the pictures are taken and then it's brought to the council so that 2 people can get on it, I mean, that can be decided. I just will say that by the time it gets to me, I have to give them 10 days to clean it up or 15 days to get in front of the city council, and then I can file the petition. And with notice, I have to be able to give them at least a minimum of a week notice to get in front of municipal court. So if I'm within that time, that might be pushing it out a whole nother month before they're getting in front of the municipal court. So, I mean, it's...
This friendly letter that's coming from City Hall, when we're talking about the time frames, it feels like maybe we should be consistent, though, in the time frames that are given, so that everybody that's getting this first
Well-
nice letter from City Hall at
And
the
where we
same
have a
time.
meeting basically every 2 weeks, some of that's going to come out of that, tonight's meeting, that might be signed and ready to go out tomorrow or the next day. So I think we've got to at least give them a 2-week period in there till the next meeting, maybe 20 days, I don't know.
Well, and I think that's right, because really, literally, if they think they can't clean it up, they need to come in and explain why not.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So if we
And it gives them time to schedule.
That way you
come
can,
in.
that'd be better than leaving it open to what the situation is. You
I'll
give
send you what I have.
exact
and you can
same
modify
letter
it.
over and
15
over.
days
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
either clean it
Yeah,
up
'cause
or
I mean, you're
schedule.
You run into somebody that may not have, that may not be enough time, but that's why they need to come in, because they don't have it within that time.
So what's everybody thinking, 15 days from the day the letter gets sent out?
Well-
And usually Friday after a meeting.
Because if they send it out on Tuesday, they're not going to get it until Friday, and then 15 days after that, it's past the next meeting.
Why would they not get it until Friday?
I mean, with the mail. Send it on Tuesday.
Oh,
Maybe
I usually
Thursday,
have things.
maybe
I usually
Thursday.
have things in too. But that still gives them. I mean, that gives them time.
But not 15 days.
Probably. Well, we'll put in there 20 days, and then if in that 20 days, if they can't get the project cleaned up done in 20 days, they need to get in here on the spot. Because we can always work with them.
That would give it 2 weekends.
That will give them,
Or whatever.
yeah, 20 days. That will get them in here if they can't get it done in that time frame and explain to us how they're going to do it. And if they can't come up with an explanation, then we just
So you're saying 20 days, and then, or come to the meeting, the very next meeting, or the meeting after that?
No, the very next meeting.
the very next, I think they need to come in the very next meeting if they don't think they can get this
Okay.
accomplished.
I think it
We
needs.
give them 20 days to do it. You know, some of them, most of the projects, they can do it in just a day or two.
I would suggest saying, you know, you have a deadline. You must get this matter resolved within 20 days. If you will not be able to meet this deadline, you must come to the next regularly scheduled city council meeting. Meetings are held the second and fourth Mondays of each month, and so that way they have that information, so they know if, hey, if we can't do it, we need to come in. Not, I'm going to wait until after it's done and then come in. And I would also suggest, just because we don't know how long it will take to get there with the mail, I always put that it's so many days from the date of this letter, not so many days from your receipt, because they can say, who does send a certified mail return receipt requested? They can say, oh, well, I didn't get it for 6 days afterward. I mean, so 20 days from the date of this letter.
So are we only talking property cleanup stuff, or are we going to do the same kind of a process for other violations like the, you know,
I think any violation that we see, the motor home that's still sitting on the street, I mean, there's just, you can see them over, there's a gal driving a vehicle that does not have a license plate, and she's been driving that for 6 months now.
it's a good generic.
So I have a question on that, though. I'm sorry. So how do you do the motor vehicles?
I don't know, that should be coded.
It's a flat tire now.
We need to get a little coded on that one.
But we need to formalize that too, because some of the same vehicles that have been there for 3 months are still there too. In other words, to keep the list moving, and I'm not trying to be rude to anybody, but there's some stuff that's been brought to the attention that is still there.
Well, the
That
motor
are
homestead,
one-off
yeah,
vehicles.
in the summer, it should have been end of October 1. You know, that's one of those things that,
I didn't look at that, what we got wrote up. Does it include motorhomes?
See, that's what I was concerned about, because it's a motor vehicle. It does,
It does.
motor homes.
yes, because I had Liza look that up.
Okay, good.
I forgot to look that
I
up.
thought she emailed it to you. I had her send it.
You may have, and I may.
Okay.
But yeah, it does include RVs, motor homes, motor.
Because that is a large thing out on the street out there.
Causes a
Well,
lot
go
of-
off in the water flow.
The question on that was, is if it's a licensed motor vehicle, why can't it be parked there? But it is specified. That's just as if it was a travel trailer.
But you also, your fifth wheel trailers are tagged in too. So they all should be off the streets, and they will find them a place to park them besides the streets during those months that they're not allowed.
So yeah, I think we need to make sure those go, somehow those have to go to, that's a motor vehicle violation.
Yeah, that needs, that's Cody's, and so does that little car that needs to be tagged for Cody's. Just need to let them know that they're still out there, plus ever. And there's other trailers sitting around town too. And, you know, construction trailer we allow if they're doing work at wherever it's parked. But there's a few flatbed trailers that have been parked on the side streets for a long time. And they're not construction trailers or anything, so.
What about violations like dog tags? And this is really minor, but we talked about this at court, at our last court, that all of these dog cases we've had recently, none of them have had their dogs tagged. It's just something
That's
that...
something that the officer should be asking or verifying to me.
I agree.
That they should be saying.
I agree with that, and for some reason, they don't. I mean, we've had, 4 dog cases now? And I don't think any of them this year. There were 2 last year with no tag. No, there was 1. There was the individual who also didn't have her vehicle registered.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there was 1, and
But
that they cited.
They didn't
But it
cite
wasn't
the
even a dog
tag.
case. It was.
It was dog at large.
Oh, it was dog at large.
Yeah, they're not doing that, so maybe
I
that's
guess
what we
if
need
those
to
come
do.
through municipal court, then we'll send them a letter saying, you don't have your dogs, they do have 20 days to get them registered.
Because we had talked about that, and the judge thought that we could do that if that's
I just think it's.
okay.
I mean, an ordinance violation. The court costs are $158, and it seems moderately outrageous to have a fine of anywhere up to $1,000, because the fine's not specified, so the code says if there's a non-specified fine, it's up to $1,000. It's up to $1,000 with $158 in court costs for what is it, $3 to register your dog if they're not spayed or neutered, and $5 if they're not, and $3 if they are. I mean, it just seems, the punishment far outweighs the crime. I mean, if we send them a letter and say, hey, you need to do this, and then they don't, then, I mean, we told you to do it, and that's, you're willfully or intentionally violating the ordinance, but...
Okay.
It seems easiest if they're already there issuing a ticket that they, oh, by the way, you also.
It would be,
But if they're not going to do it, then we write them a letter as they come through.
okay.
Or, I think, don't you guys? I mean, if-
Yeah, the only other thing I think is if somebody came and talked to us saying somebody's dog gets it, then I guess we could send them a letter saying it brought to our attention that you have not, and
say, look,
we could do
too
that,
many
too.
dogs are, that's happened before.
I'm not going to go looking for it, but if somebody brings it to our attention and we find out that they aren't registered or anything, then we send them the letter. kind of the same thing.
So I'll take the ordinance out, or I'll just highlight it. I guess you can take the ordinance out. Because mine is specifically for property cleanup.
Right.
There's-
I'll probably make several different letters that may be
I'll
used.
just send you it and then you
Getting them registered.
can
Yeah.
modify how you need.
That'll work.
And then there was just mentioning the flags for the UTV vehicles and golf carts and so forth. Will that go out with,
Electric bills, is that what we talked about? Or,
well, it's kind of a waste to send something to all electric bills because there's not that many of them, but where do we have records of who has a tag, the little green tag on? We need, if we just send it to those people, saying that now you have to have a flag on it.
You can do that. We have,
who's got a spreadsheet of current ones in years past?
I think she does, yeah. And I can see who's paid in this last year, who's paid for their registrations. Okay, I can do that. Yeah, okay. We'll send those out in January.
Any further discussion on that? I think we need to get something started. Let's try this and see what happens.
The house on South Denison, I know we discussed last meeting, but when you weren't here, where we at on the 16?
Oh, this is the individual who didn't transfer, but, they have been or will be called. I don't know if I didn't get an email that they had, but my office is going to call, or has called, I don't know what the girls did. I'll check with them tomorrow. They're going to call that individual and let them know that they have until the 10th of January to get that rectified, and if a filed corrected document is not in my office by the 10th of January, then on the 11th I will issue a summons for the matter because the municipal court is on the 19th, and so that gets just over a week. That gets 8 days to get it rectified, and so if it gets transferred, we'll send out another letter stating, hey, you've got, well, I don't know, does the city want to send, because if it's under a new owner, if the person who's living there will own it.
Transferred yet?
Not that I've seen either.
Is this the place across from you?
This is, they filed a document which was supposed to transfer, which they thought transferred it, but did not actually transfer it, because they got their terminology wrong. So, I will check with my staff tomorrow, but it is, if they've already called them or if that's to do today, it was, I know I'd asked them to do that last week, so I'll see what they've done. But yes, someone will, either he will be in court on the 19th for that, or he will, or if it's transferred, then it will be, we'll issue a letter to the new owner. If they do have a new owner, if it is transferred, do you want to do the city sends a letter and then gives them time to clean it up, or?
I feel like
Both
this
of
one's
those
been-
parties have been notified.
I was gonna say, this has
They're
been on the
both very
books,
aware
yeah.
of it, that's why they're trying to transfer it. I would think that one goes directly.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
so
would-
then, so if it gets transferred, then I will send a new property cleanup letter with a 10-day cleanup time or a 15-day requirement for them to be in front of the city council. I had received a question of, if they get a letter like that, how are they to prove that they have done it? And I think my answer is contact the city and ask JR to go by.
Yeah.
Is that not?
And that's why we're going to
Okay.
take the pictures, because then we can say, okay, here's what it looked like, And now here's what it looks like. Yeah, you improved it, no, you didn't.
Right. And I don't think we have any other outstanding properties, just that one.
I think we do have a lot. No,
Well, I mean, I think we have a lot, but I think,
Process,
I think the rest of them were, as you stated, reluctantly dismissed because
Yes.
they are bare minimum compliant.
And that's an issue we get into when we get too many things going on around town. I mean, it seems like it's kind of exploded on us, all of a sudden you can't hardly get the compliance you want because the baseline keeps moving,
Yeah.
so to speak. I mean, it's...
Yeah, because I talked to JR about 2 properties that are in an alley, because one guy mentioned it to me. And so I don't drive all the alleys, so I drove through it. Sure enough, on both sides of them, need cleaned up. There's stuff that's must be out there for the last 2 or 3 years. And the weeds are this tall in there. And so, it's in the alley, so you don't see it unless you go up and down the alley. And, and some people use the alley as their driveway. They go into their back garage or whatever. Most of us don't, but some do, and that's what he does. He's in that alley a lot. So. And it's a minor cleanup. It wouldn't take them very long to either one of them to do it, but it needs to be done sometime. So we're going to see a lot of that. But. Okay, well, let's move on to projects pending. Anything more on that? What was it I called you about the other day? That
The billboards.
billboards, the ones east and west of town. We need to start thinking about the redoing. They are so washed out.
Our city signs?
Yeah, they're washed out. They don't look good. How many years has it been now?
It was in 2017 in August, and it was $2,013.92 for both signs, and we paid for that out of the guest tax fund.
Who did it?
Commercial sign.
Commercial signs. I don't know if that's the way to go. We put up the ones for the Motorcycle Museum. It'll be 6 years here in April, and look at them. They're still, you read them, you can see them. And we put he had what he called the 7-year vinyl on, so that's what we went with, the better vinyl. Well, we're going to get way more than 7 years out of it. I think we'll get 10, 12 years. And maybe it's the color combination too, but even the green that's on there's not faded yet. So I don't know, we just need to do something because it's looking sad.
Are you thinking the same sign just reprinting, or are you talking
I
about
don't know.
redesigning?
I don't know, we might want to redesign it too.
Yeah.
I was just curious.
But I think that's something that we need to think about here and have something up by April, May at the latest. So
Yeah, it's
that-
better to have no sign than a bad looking one.
Oh, yeah.
We drove across Kansas and
Here's
like,
your sign.
there's hardly a sign standing that wind.
Yeah.
They're just all bent over.
Who did the signs for the museum? Was it
Hot Rush.
Okay.
So, and I don't know, I mean, we just need let's put it on the project's pending so we can try to get something done and up by at least when people are starting to travel again. Give us a few months to think about what we want to do on it.
Well, I think you could put it out there, maybe. There's enough artists out there, graphic design that would be probably willing to design something for us,
Mhm. Well, the one east of town isn't Case, the one that designed that one with a pheasant on it and
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
It's okay, designed that one. And the one west of town, it was your ideas with the triangle deals with the,
Yeah, the boxes, like the...
the
app
apps and stuff.
thing.
And maybe we put it out there for people to come up with some ideas
Yeah.
and drawings. Is that what everybody wants to do? I'll put something in the paper about we're thinking of redoing the
Updating our signs.
updating our signs and see what suggestions people will bring to us. Yeah.
Do you want me to do that now, or?
I think we might as well get started on it, because
Yeah.
it's gonna take us a little while to determine, you know, what we're gonna wanna put up there.
You
Might
leave it-
not
you
get
could leave
done
it
this week, but I'll get it done as soon as I can.
Yeah, that's fine.
Standard, yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to, no, you don't have to do it this week. or-
Did, what's his name, are they still doing Calibrate and,
Oh, metal signs?
yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, they did the
No,
one
he
East
left.
Lutheran.
That Dustin, that did a lot of that work, he left. He's not there anymore.
Where do you want this advertised, just in the Herald, or?
I would think on the city's Facebook page also
Yeah, we
probably.
put it on
Yeah.
the Facebook
Yeah.
page and in the Herald that we're looking for new ideas for the signs coming into town and for people to give us ideas. See what they come up with.
I wonder if you did it like a, I don't know if the council would want to, like a design, I guess, contest. They get submitted and the city posts all the submissions on Facebook, and the one that gets, the two that get the most votes or the most likes are the ones you go with. I guess the council, I mean, if the, that might be dangerous, I don't know. That might be dangerous. You might not want to.
I think just have them give us ideas. Because we might take this person's idea and this person's idea and combine them
Yeah.
to make it work or
They could
something.
submit drawings.
Yeah.
Submit sketches as well, too.
So you're not really looking for proposals then?
No, just ideas.
Yeah.
Ideas. What,
Ideas are proposals, if somebody wants to design
you know,
it.
I mean, they're not going to give you, I wouldn't give you my design if it wasn't something that was in a proposal format, you know what I mean? Because I don't want you to take my design and combine it with somebody else's and come up with your own.
Yeah.
So are we asking for, I'm a little confused on how to put the advertisement.
If anyone has suggestions as to what they would like on the new,
I have to say, let them design it.
Yeah,
We're not gonna try to design something ourselves.
yeah, the whole design.
Okay.
you know. Because then they'll put more time into it too. They'll work at it, try to come up with good ideas.
Okay.
Okay, anything else on project pending that we need to talk about tonight? We've already went way past our 17. Okay, street projects, we need to talk any on any of that?
I don't think so, other than she briefly mentioned that Fourth and Parkway was not, that has not been paid for. All other work has been to date, but that was just based on, he submitted that to the state looking for funding, which we already had matching money, so we encumbered it. That's pretty much it.
So Benton's definitely out until next year.
Yeah.
Temperature replacement.
Hopefully they can get to it early.
Yeah.
Okay, building permits.
I don't have any.
Superintendent report.
Just briefly, both Mike Myers and myself have 40 hours for carryover, and we're right on our anniversary month. So it's in our code that we can pass that over, but we always come to the council with that.
Everybody okay with it? Okay.
In reference to the theater, Robert and I have been working on that. That's how that money came to, I guess, the forefront, because that's been one of the issues we've talked about, would be fundraising, in-kind money, or how I would do that. And we've talked to the designer as well. We are moving that forward, I guess, is all I'm really getting at. Nothing formal at this point, but we are having discussions about that. Another question that's come up just in twice now so far is the asphalt millings that we got off the streets. Some of that stuff is mostly dirt, and there is actually some good material. Therefore, there's far more than what we can productively use. When I say far more, I want to limit that, but I would like to sell that stuff based on the ton. There's a couple contractors who use it in driveways and whatnot. I would more so like to get rid of the road base stuff that's more just dirt. If you've seen that thing, it's kind of, I don't want to say it's a mess, but there's good material and there's bad material, and it's all together. whatever the case, I would like to, on a limited basis, make that available to people at $4 a ton for the better stuff and $2 for the lesser stuff, with a stop point that I would choose. It's just more material than what we can use and the wrong stuff. So if you would authorize that, I'll just kind of use the judgment on how
I
much.
got a dumb question.
Okay.
Is it possible, you think, sometime to use stuff like that to do River Street south of 36, partially?
That would have to be paved, the way that washboards and stuff, it would
Yeah.
do just the exact same thing.
It would? Okay.
That needs to be, it would need to be reincorporated asphalt in order to take that out. I was just on that this morning, I hadn't been on that in some time. Wow, this thing, the problem with that, just so you know, is we can go drag it around, but it's so dry, it
Yeah.
won't do anything. It goes right back, and in fact, it makes it worse.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's in horrible shape. I hadn't been on that in I don't know how long.
It has to be paved.
But
Well,
yeah,
there's no moisture.
Yeah.
There is none.
There's no moisture, and it just,
We have actually gone through and tilled that, and it bought some time when we had some moisture. Like I think we went like 12 or 14 inches down and had moisture, and it lasted just under a year
Wow.
before they started coming back. But they come in as soon as you're on the brakes. That
Yeah.
once those washboards get started, they just grow. But no, that would require material other than this stuff.
Gotcha.
okay, everybody agree that let JR determine
Yeah.
what he wants to sell out, the two products?
Okay, and that's all I have.
Okay, do I hear a motion to accept the superintendent report? Moved by Cale, second by Larry, all in favor. Approved attorney report, Lauren?
I don't have anything else. Municipal court is going like it normally does. We've had fewer cases, but the couple that we've had have been a little bit more severe. Other than that, I don't have anything.
Okay, motion to approve the, moved by Cale, second by Amanda, all in favor. Approved. Clerk report.
Just a couple of things that came in late. 2 cereal malt beverage license renewals. One is for Pizza Hut, and the other one is for El Jalapeno Mexican Restaurant. These are both for consumption on the premises, and they are both renewals.
I do hear a motion to approve the two. Moved by Cale, second by Dara, all in favor. Approved.
And then I have an RV park license for Zimbelman RV Park for 2022. They have 3 spaces for campers. It's just a renewal.
Hear a motion to approve the RV. Moved by Larry, second by Amanda. Everybody good? Okay.
That's all I have.
Okay. Motion to approve the clerk report.
So moved.
Moved by Amanda. Second by Derek. All in favor? Approved. Okay, council comments. Cale.
Nothing here.
Amanda? Derek? Larry?
No.
Okay, I will be leaving Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. I'm not sure yet. Watching the weather. See you in a couple months.
Scott, what I'm going to do with that in mind is try to get you the appointment sent this week and for you to look over.
Okay, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Amanda, second by Larry.
Almost 17 minutes.
Almost.
47 minutes.
17 minutes plus